Does wedding fans have a completely different meaning for you? I know it does for me. If you are a perimenopausal woman and you often find your insides on fire and you're looking for a delicious, sweet, frozen treat to cool that internal flame, then this video is for you. Keep watching. Hi there and welcome to my channel. I'm Belinda J, just your average 55-year-old perimenopausal woman who, just like many of you, was struggling with the peri belly, and I was able to lose my peri belly in a very short period of time by increasing my protein and making some easy food swaps. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 of the frozen treats that I love that actually cools my insides during those hot flash moments while also, satisfying that sweet tooth. If you do have a sweet tooth just like me, then I do have another video on my channel with, it's called, I think, 3 no-bake desserts. Definitely go and check that out. I'll post a link right here for those of you who just can't give up the sugar. I also have a lot of new subscribers, and to you, I just want to say welcome and thank you for subscribing on this channel. We don't really focus about becoming bikini models, but honey, if we can get in a bikini as a result of, eating more protein and making food swaps, then we will take it. On this channel, I'm really focused on helping as many women as I can who are just like myself, struggling with the peri belly to not look pregnant, honey, when you're over 45, over 50, unless you really want to be pregnant. Just take comfort in knowing that you are not alone, that you're not crazy. I know that, it can be daunting. It's definitely a killer of your confidence. So look around the channel. I hope you'll find a video or, a tip or a recipe that'll help you in your fat loss journey and to help you to reclaim your body and, most importantly, your confidence. So without further ado, let's dive right into the first frozen sweet treat. So first up on our frozen dessert list is going to be some peanut butter bites with chocolate chips. These are very easy to make. These should already be staples in your pantry. If not, then they need to be. If you want to go and look at my very first grocery haul, I'll put a link right here and you can go back and see what I have purchased. I get most of my things from Aldi. Of course, Aldi doesn't sell this, but they do sell this yogurt. So I have a plain Greek yogurt. You want to make sure it's as clean as possible, no added fruits and things of that nature. We just want it plain. I have some dark chocolate chips. This is about 72% cacao. I'm going to be using some collagen. Now, the only sweetener that I'm going to be using is maybe just a little bit of this stevia. I'm kind of, gotten rid of my sugar addiction. So the sweetness that already comes with the yogurt and the peanut butter powder and the chocolate chips is enough for me. I know when you're first starting out getting rid of your sugar addiction that you need to have a lot of extra sugars and so forth, but you need to have some kind of sweetener in the house. You can use maple syrup, but maple syrup has a lot of natural sugars, actually too much sugar, probably about 28 grams per serving, which is 2 tablespoons, and that's too much. And I'm going to be using this peanut butter powder. If you don't have peanut butter powder, you can use a regular peanut butter. The reason I'm using this peanut butter powder is because it is less calories and the same amount of protein, which is about 6 grams of protein. The calories per serving is about 50, and it has less fat as well. But like I said, if you don't have peanut butter powder, then feel free to use your regular peanut butter. So first thing I'm going to do is mix up a half a cup of this peanut butter powder with a little bit of water, and then I'm going to mix up my other ingredients. If you've never used peanut butter powder before, you can make peanut butter like paste, like the regular, by just adding a little bit of water or, maybe a little bit of almond milk. But In this particular recipe, I found that if you go ahead and, of course, knock out some of these little lumps in here and then slowly add water so that this becomes, like a peanut butter. And then when you add it to the yogurt, it kind of mixes a lot better. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing first. So after about 4 tablespoons of water, it has the consistency that I want. So now I'm just going to add a cup of the Greek yogurt. So I'm going to add a little bit of my cinnamon, and then I do have some pecan pieces that my mom gave me because she couldn't really figure out what to do with them. So we're going to throw that in, and then I'm going to stir in. I think I want my chips in there. And then what I would do would be to recommend that you taste it before you add any additional sweetener, just to taste it and see if it, meets your taste palate. So for me, it's pretty sweet, but I am going to add just a teaspoon of the no-calorie sweetener. Oh, I forgot my collagen. We cannot forget to add in 1 serving of collagen, which adds another 10 grams of protein. So in a cup of yogurt, I think that was about 17 or 20. And then with the peanut butter powder and this collagen, this is definitely a high protein frozen treat. Now, I don't have a big freezer, so that's why this little small batch is going to have to be enough. And of course, we're not going to be eating all of this in one sitting. We're just trying to have some things on hand in the freezer when that sweet tooth hits maybe about 9 or 10 o'clock. And if you have other people there at your house that already have all kinds of candies and snacks, we don't want to be raiding their stash. So we're going to have this on hand and satisfy that sweet tooth. So we're just going to add a little chocolate chips on the top. Okay, so there's the finished product. It has extra chocolate chips on top as well as those pecan pieces. Now I'm going to just throw it in the freezer for a couple of hours. Frozen treat number 1, peanut butter bites. They actually kind of look like a cookie, but they are delicioso as usual. I would highly recommend that whenever you're eating 1 or 2. Now, we're not going to eat the whole all 6. We're not eating all 6 now. Come on. Maybe just 1 or 2 to kind of fend off that little sweet tooth that you may be having, but let them thaw out for about a minute or 2 to soften up a little bit. They're much better when they're a little bit soft. And so that's frozen treat number 1. So who's making the peanut butter treat? Inside is cool already. So that was treat number 1. If you like this one, which looks like a cookie, but of course you can make it smaller, then my tooth is cold. You're definitely gonna like number 2. So drop a comment below and let me know what you think about this particular recipe. Is it something that you can make? You think it's something that you like? Honey, and anyway, these are much cheaper than you buying them in the grocery store. So if you like peanut butter, then you're definitely going to like this next one. So while I eat, you watch number 2. Okay, up next we have a frozen almond butter protein bite. So the key ingredients are going to be the Greek yogurt, the vanilla plant-based protein powder. I have some almond butter. I have just some regular peanuts. Now these are from my car stash, as you saw in the Dollar Tree video, but I have these nuts and I kind of grinded them up so that they'd be in pieces. And then I have my Cheerios, and what I'm going to be doing with the Cheerios is I want it to have a crunch. So instead of using some heavy cookie or graham cracker, we're going to be using these no sugar Cheerios. I have this little pack of 1 teaspoon of vanilla that I've been wanting to try. I got a sample of, so you could use any vanilla extract. And then we have the chocolate chips that we're going to be melting. And the best practice, of course, with the chocolate chips, whenever you melt it, is to do it in a double boiler on the stove. But I'm going to be microwaving it. So whenever we microwave these chips, we have to do it in 15-second increments so that we don't burn it. And so we'll see how that turns out with these chips. So let's just get into it. So I had some technical difficulties, so the view of this is going to be a little bit different. But anywho, we're going to keep going. So we're going to start off with a cup of the Greek yogurt, a half a cup of the protein powder, a half a cup of the almond butter. And let me dip this out. We're going to put in 1/4 of a cup of the Cheerios. Now, if you don't have Cheerios, you can use Rice Krispies. And then 1/4 of a cup of the peanuts. I'll save some of those peanuts to go on top. The vanilla extract. This is going to be 1 teaspoon. And then we're just going to stir this up. Now, before we can dip this in chocolate, we have to put this in the freezer for a couple of hours and then make the chocolate covering mixture. And I can't seem to find any of my ice cream scoopers or anything like that. So I'm just going to have to make it do what it do by just putting a dollop on here with the spoon. In the freezer, this goes for 2 hours. So here are our almond butter bites that have been in the freezer all night long, and now we're ready to make the chocolate coating, and then we'll put them back in the freezer. So instead of using like all of these chocolate chips or either some other kind of chocolate coating, I'm going to cut it by just using maybe a couple of tablespoons of these dark chocolate chips. I'm going to mix in maybe 2 tablespoons of this baking cocoa powder and some MCT oil. If you don't have MCT oil, it's basically just like a variation of coconut oil, a healthy fat. Then you can use a coconut oil if you would like. So I'm going to be putting this in the microwave and just kind of monitoring it for like every 15 seconds instead of kind of making the mixture here in a double boiler. So let's get to making the chocolate coating. So this is going to cut down on a lot of the unwanted sugars. Maybe I'll just use like 3 tablespoons. And then maybe 2 tablespoons of the cocoa powder. And we'll start off with 1 tablespoon of the MCT oil and just see if we need to add more. So in the microwave we go for 15 seconds. So this is what it looks in my microwave after 30 seconds. So we're still going to just go in increments of 15 seconds. I think I'm ready to go. So now we're just going to dip our balls in here and then top it with our peanuts. And I'm not going to do a full-on dunk. I'm just going to try and just coat it a little bit so that I don't have to make another batch. but you get the point. So we're just going to finish up with this and then top it with our peanuts. So I did end up having to make another batch of the chocolate, and then it's still not enough. I ran out of ingredients, but I think, you know, you all get the picture of what's happening here, honey. We are making some chocolate almond butter bites that are going to be delicious. Some will have chocolate and some won't. But this is definitely a great recipe to help you curve that sweet tooth and cut down on that sugar. Okay, so that's it. Going back in the fridge, in the freezer. I know they're not the prettiest, as all of these haven't been the prettiest. I've had so many technical difficulties today, but anywho, back in the freezer, there you go. Now, the majority of these ingredients, I buy my staples at Aldi. So the majority of the ingredients can be found at your local grocer. I find that like the almond butter is less expensive at Aldi, as well as on Amazon. And I'll put a link in the description box to some of the key ingredients that are my staples that I always keep in the house, just so that, you know, when I have those urges, cravings, I can easily whip them together. Now that peanut butter one's delicious, honey. This almond butter one, reminding you of a candy bar. Girl, if y'all don't get in here and lose that belly, what are you waiting on? While I'm still eating this, wait a minute. I know that ain't what I think it is. It's what I think it is. Ice cream! Okay, our last frozen dessert is just going to be some ice cream. And yeah, you guessed it. We're going to be, cottage cheese hates to see me coming. We're going to be using some cottage cheese, 2 cups of cottage cheese. You can use a cup of your favorite fruit. I'm going to be using some strawberries and maybe a half of this banana. I have some vanilla extract. And then I also have some protein powder. This is a unflavored protein powder. And then I'm also going to be using maybe about a half a pack of this 0 sugar Jell-O cheesecake. And I know everyone's saying, oh, those are chemicals. Okay, this is my ice cream. So in your ice cream, you put whatever ingredients you would like. But these are going to be the ingredients that I have for my ice cream. We're just going to put the ingredients in a blender and then pop it in the freezer. I'm not going to make as big of a batch, so I'm just going to do maybe a cup and a half of cottage cheese here. A little bit of my cheesecake Jell-O 0 sugar mixture. Strawberries. I probably need to blend that up first and then add the other stuff. I didn't want to bring out my big food processor, so let me just blend this and then add the protein powder last. So now that I've blended that down, let me just add a scoop of this unflavored protein powder. May not be able to add the banana, but we'll see. So the banana wasn't able to fit, so this is pretty much it. The strawberries, the protein powder, and the cottage cheese. I didn't even put in the vanilla. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. But anywho, we're now just going to pour it in the dish and freeze it. Oh, look how creamy that is. I just love making desserts that are satisfying, but is a lot healthier than what you buy in the store. So once we get it all in the dish, we're going to smooth it out. And then I'm going to put a little bit of parchment paper over the top to protect it from any little icicles. And then I'll put a top on it, and it's going to stay in the freezer for probably overnight. But if it wasn't as late, then I would probably take it out sooner. But look at that. You probably never even thought cottage cheese could make delicious ice cream, did you? Maybe I'll just put the bananas on after. Well, that's it. In the freezer it goes. It's ice cream time. Well, here is our clean, high protein strawberry ice cream. Yep, it is frozen solid. Probably the best time to have eaten it would have been about 2 hours after you put it in the freezer. It would have been lightly frozen, but still soft. But hey, this is still going to work. I just have to get my ice cream scooper, scoop it out. I was having tripod issues yesterday, so I forgot to pull out my popsicle maker because I could have easily just poured the mixture in these popsicle container and froze those, and then it would have been ready to eat by just pulling out the stick here. But nonetheless, this is our clean, high protein ice cream, and I'm gonna dive right in. This ice cream, nice cream, whatever you want to call it, is so good. Cottage cheese is sick of me. But guess what? I don't care. We do not care. I got more recipes with cottage cheese coming up in the next few videos. But in the meantime, I want to thank you for watching. Please share this video with your family and friends or any other woman that you know who may be going through the change and need a little guidance. Also, if you can't figure it out all on your own, then I have documented everything that I'm doing, and it is available to you, called the Perimenopausal Playbook. I'll put the link in the description. It also has a discount code there for new subscribers, so go and check that out. So until the next video, honey, you do what you can do at every meal. Stay away from them food devils. Have them egg bites, honey, in your purse. And I'll see you in the next video.